Welcome in Zandvoort in the Netherlands for the second round of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Benelux. After Spa, it's up to another former Formula 1 track. And we have some new drivers in the second round of the new championship. One of them is Jan van Kuik, one of the contenders in the M class. And we have a word with Jan van Kuik.
Het is enorm leuk om te doen.
It's very nice to drive, but it's rather difficult as well. It's a real race car, so I have to find the right lines, find the right braking points. So I make small steps, but the good thing is that I learn a lot and I increase my speed every time, so it's going better. Christian Frankenhout, leader in the championship, is absent because of 24 hours of Nürburgring duties. And he's replaced by Max van Splunteren.
Het is natuurlijk echt geweldig om voor het eerst in zo'n ding te rijden.
It's great to drive this car for the first time. I'm used to a little Ford, so this is completely different. But everybody says that if you can go quick in a Ford, you can go quick in everything. But I'm not sure about that. But we'll see what happens. I'm enjoying myself. First sprint race then, and Nicolas van Dierendonck in the 11 Porsche finishes second behind debutant Jan van Dijk, who takes the win in the M class. Third overall goes to Paul van Splunteren. Bert Longin finishes second in the first sprint race, and the win goes to Jeffrey van Hooijdonk. First win for a Belgian driver in the GT3 Cup Challenge. Great win for van Hooijdonk. On the rather cloudy Zandvoort, Rivas takes fourth there, and Jan van Kuik wins the M class and finishes fifth overall. Off to the second of the sprint races then. A last look at the computer data to try and improve for the next race.
Carlos, devant la deuxième course du week-end.
Carlos, just before the second race of the championship, you're third on the grid. That's rather well. Yes, it's rather well, especially because I've never driven here in Zandvoort. It's I took with the rain tires because the track was drying, but it still did a good time. Starting grid then with Roger Hordenius on pole position, and a rather nervous youngster, 17-year-old Max van Splunteren. Just behind him, full focus with Frank Berlien in the first motorsport car, and Olivier van Oost has taken the steering wheel of the 11. And the lights go out and we're off. Not such a good start for Hordenius, and it's Hunter Rabbit in the Petronas Porsche who goes for the lead. Carlos Rivas tries to follow him, and Max van Splunteren slips into third position. Great start for the youngster. He even tries to take second place from Rivas, but not yet. Rivas challenging Hunter Rabbit, and Max van Splunteren right behind. Rivas goes on the outside of Hunter Rabbit and Tarzan, and he takes the lead. Great move by a man who has never driven here in Zandvoort. And then, that's a late braking point, and he goes over the curbs indeed. Just too late with the braking, leaves a gap on the inside, and Hunter Rabbit retakes the lead in the DVB Racing Porsche. Olivier van Oost leading the M class, and Frank Berlien having some troubles in the first motorsport Porsche. In front, Max van Splunteren is now challenging Hunter Rabbit and takes the lead. Great move by the youngster. And Carlos Rivas is not far behind. A great scrap here between Van Splunteren, Abbott and Rivas. And Van Splunteren increases his lead up to a couple of seconds towards Hunter Abbott, who in turn has a couple of seconds in hand over Rivas. Jan van Kuik challenging in the M class is second for the moment. Hunter Abbott, I think he has settled for second place, and that means that Max van Splunteren takes the win in his first race in this GT3 Cup Challenge Benelux. What a great start for the youngster, and he's very happy indeed.
Max, proficiat, je eerste race in de Porsche Cup en direct een
Your
overwinning.
first race and a win immediately. Yes, thank you. It was a great race. I had a good start,
Ik had gelijk 2 mensen.
and then I immediately gained 2 places.
Kon ik er langs.
And then I tried to pass Rivas. I did, and then I passed Hunter. I don't even remember where I did that, but it went well. And Hunter Abbott is a happy camper as well.
Yeah, it was a good race. It was a good start. It's a shame we couldn't get the tyres to come on a little bit quicker, but but it's a good result for the championship.
Max van Splunteren spraying the champagne. Hunter Abbott in second. Carlos Rivas in third. Pole sitter Roger Hodenius finishes in fourth, and Olivier van Oost finishes in fifth. And with that fifth place, Van Oost won the AM class as well.
Olivier, mooie overwinning in de tweede race van het
Great win in this second race. Yes, it was a bit close in the start when I had to fight my competitor, but then I could create a gap. I was held up by a spin from one of the other drivers. I lost some time there, but after that everything went well. We did some good lap times and I enjoyed myself. Off to the 50-minute endurance race now with the driver change, and the rain comes down just before the start of the race. Difficult tire choice then.
Frank, vlak voor de laatste race. Het is moeilijk
Frank,
om
it
de
started to rain. What tires will you choose?
Ja, we hebben
Well, we just had a look on the weather radar and it said it wouldn't rain, but I don't think it's wet enough to put on rain tires, so we'll keep the slicks. As long as the other don't change, we won't change as well. But then the rain comes down heavier and almost all cars put on rain tires, all cars except the number 10. Heemskerk decides not to change tires and he starts the race on slicks. That might not be a good idea. Warming up then. And off they go with Paul van Splunteren and Bert Longin fighting for first position. Longin goes to the outside. Nice inboard shots here. Longin takes the lead in Tarzan. Great start from the Belgian. And Paul van Splunteren is a bit surprised, but he has the speed, and a bit later in that first lap Paul van Splunteren retakes the lead. And Longin has some difficulties on trying to keep the car on the grippy stuff. He's challenged by Hunter Abbott as well. And we're driving with Melroy Heemskerk here, who is on slicks, remember. And he sees how Jan van Kuik passes him. Not a good tyre choice, I think. Fight here between Longin and Abbott. And Longin goes a bit wide, and Tarzan comes into the litter. And Bert Longin is stuck in the gravel trap. He tried to get out, but then the Porsche went just a bit sideways and he is completely blocked. That means that Carlos Rivas is up to third now in the number 8 Porsche. In front, Paul van Splunteren uses his local knowledge to increase the gap. And Bert Longin is towed out of the gravel trap but has lost a lot of time.
Ik had wel een goede start natuurlijk, maar eigenlijk kon ik...
I had a good start, but I immediately felt it would be very difficult to hold that position. We can't steer into the corners, and in the rain it's impossible to take the corners. I tried to fight with the leaders, and I had to take a lot of risks. And then after 2 laps in Tarzan, I couldn't get the car into the corner, so I went into the gravel trap and I was stuck. Melroy Heemskerk still on slick tires, suffering a lot, but setting respectable lap times in those conditions. But from the moment the pit window goes open, he comes into the pit lane, gives the steering wheel to Roger Hodenius, and rain tires are put on the Porsche.
Ja, we hoopten eigenlijk dat...
Yeah, we hoped it would quit rain and there would be a dry line. But then the rain increased and that was it was impossible to drive fast. So from the moment that I could come in to finish my stint, I came in and we changed tires. Carlos Rivas comes into the pit lane as well. And Hunter Abbott now in second position. 30 seconds behind Paul van Splunteren. Over to the pit lane. Here's the steering wheel of the Petronas Porsche to Jeffrey van Hooijdonk, who will have to fight against the 17-year-old Max van Splunteren once his dad finishes his stint. Last lap for Paul van Splunteren. He has a lead of some 30 seconds when he comes into the pit lane. That should be enough for Van Splunteren Jr. to hold on to the lead.
Eigenlijk heel goed.
Had a good first turn. I was a bit surprised by Bert Langin in the start, who went on the outside. But then I was quicker and I quickly retook the lead. And then I increased the gap rather easily. I think I could use my local knowledge here to do so. Indeed, and Max van Splunteren, who is losing time towards Jeffrey van Hooijdonk, is still in the lead, though he's losing about 2 seconds per lap. But that will not be enough for Van Hooijdonk to close that gap completely. Here we drive with Jan van Kuik, the second in the M class. Oh, and that goes horribly wrong for Van Kuik, and he finishes up in the tyre wall. That's the end of the race for him. A great result lost there. And Van Splunteren and Abbott looking at the lap times. Langin and Bulletin still on track after that excursion in the gravel trap, but 2 laps down. And Van Oost and Van Dierendonk are now leading the M class. Roger Hodenius up to 4th, now with the rain tire shot Porsche. Rivas is in 3rd. And Van Hooijdonk, after realizing that he wouldn't be able to catch Max van Splunteren, settled for 2nd position. And that meant that Paul and Max van Splunteren took a great win in this endurance race on the wet Zandvoort track. A great result for father and son Van Splunteren.
Max, proficiat, opnieuw een overwinning.
And again a win for you, Max. Yeah, this was fantastic. This was really a good pass from my dad, and I only had to head the ball into the goal.
Nicola, proficiat met de overwinning.
Nicola, congratulations with the class win. How was it in the rain? Well, it was very, very difficult. It's the very first time that I drive a race in the rain. But then I saw Jan van Kuik in the off, and then I did it easily towards the end. So there was some training for next time. We take another look at the results. Van Splunteren and Van Splunteren win it in front of Abbott and Van Hooijdonk. But that 2nd place for Abbott and Van Hooijdonk mean they're now the leaders in the championship after 2 rounds of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge. Here we see those standings. Paul van Splunteren still in 3rd. That was it from Zandvoort. See you after the break. Welcome back to the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Benelux, and we change from one Dutch track to another. Now we're in Assen, and Paul van Splunteren, 3rd in the championship, has left his place on the HTC Porsche to Sander van Es, the racing journalist, former TTCC champion, and he makes his debut on the Porsche.
Sander, het weekend aan de start in de Porsche GT3.
Sander, first time in the GT3 Cup. How is it? Well, I've been racing since 1994, but I've never driven a Porsche before, so it's rather impressive. But in the second free practice, I had some good time, so I'm rather looking forward to the races.
En ja, gewoon feestend rijden.
Nicola, voor de 3e manche van de Porsche GT3 Cup.
Nicola, 3rd round in Assen. How is this track? Well, it's a wonderful track. It's the first time I drive here. It's a real challenge. And the first of the sprint races then. Olivier van Oost surprises everybody by finishing 3rd overall and winning the M class. Must be said that some drivers lost some time due to punctures. 2nd overall was Carlos Rivas, who is paired with Xavier Maassen this weekend, but this sprint race he did alone, of course. And the win went to another newcomer, Mark Roker, sharing the car with Melroy Heemskerk this weekend. And Rabbit finishes in 4th and Sander van Es in 5th. And then we're off to the second of the sprint races. Technical Assen track should provide some great racing. This is newcomer Tom Langeberg in the 67 car. A nice starting grid there. And this is Bert Langin. Look at the lights. The lights go on and Bert Langin moves. That's a false start in my book. And the stewards agreed, and Bert Langin was awarded a drive-through penalty later on in the race. In front, meanwhile, is Jeffrey van Hooydonk leading from Christian Frankenhout. There was a slight contact there. There might be damage to one of the two Porsches or both of them. Van Hooydonk still leading from Frankenhout, who makes his comeback after his 24 hours of Nürburgring excursion. Here, Mero Heemskerk behind Bert Langin. Don't forget, Langin will get a penalty. And Xavier Maassen in front in the number 8 Porsche. Xavier Maassen, a very experienced GT driver, while Jean-Michel Giraud's car is pushed away there. Maassen, who won a round of the Blancpain Endurance Series last year. Goes a bit wide here, Maassen, and Mero Heemskerk can take advantage of that, and he takes third position. Meanwhile, Van Hooydonk is still leading from Frankenhout, then Heemskerk, Maassen. And Bert Langin is in 5th in the M class. Olivier van Oost is chasing newcomer Tom Langeberg in the 67 Porsche. Very close battle there, as in front with Van Hooydonk and Frankenhout. Here's Van Hooydonk on the technical Assen TT track, made famous by the MotoGP race, of course. And here Bert Langin coming into the pit lane to execute his drive-through penalty. He will lose a couple of places because of that. And Langeberg and Van Oost are still fighting hard for that lead in the M class. Langeberg finding it difficult to keep the car up to the apex. And he leaves a gap, and Van Oost slips through, takes the lead in the class. Still Langeberg is not far behind. Olivier Van Oost can't afford any mistakes. And here Maassen and Heemskerk still fighting hard. And Maassen will try to pass on the outside of the Heemskerk Porsche, who goes a bit wide there. Maassen keeps the speed. But there's a lot of debris there on the outside of the Assen track. Let's hope Maassen didn't pick up a puncture there. Meanwhile, Langin tries to make up for lost time, and we're already in the last lap, and there was a puncture for Xavier Maassen. And the great result is lost there for the speed lover Porsche. Meanwhile, Van Hooydonk still leading. Has a couple of seconds in hand now. Should be able to finish this last lap once more in front of the Heer Timmer grandstand. And Van Hooydonk comes out of the final corner. Takes the win in this second sprint race in Assen. Great result for Van Hooydonk.
Jeffrey, proficiat met een mooie overwinning.
Ja, het was moeilijk.
Yes, it was a hard race. I didn't have a good start. Frankenhout was next to me. There's a difficult starting position here because the pole position is on the left and the first corner is on the right, so immediately on the outside. And then there was the first corner and there was a slight contact with Christian. I was afraid that the suspension was touched and it was a bit damaged, but I managed to control the race.
Ik heb een poosje op de eerste plek geleden.
Yes, I was leading the class for a moment, but then I suffered from some understeer and I had to drive very defensively, but you can't continue a whole race like that, and so it's better to control the race, and I let him go.
Die beide niets, dus heb ik voor gekozen om toch wat rustiger aan te doen. Ja.
Van Hooydonk wins the second sprint race from Frankenhout. Heemskerk in third. Langin is still in fourth after his drive-through. And Olivier van Oost wins the M class. The endurance race then, 50 minutes with driver change on a dry Assen track. Should provide some great spectacle here. It's Hunter Abbott and Sander Van Ness on the front row. And the others are trying to get as much temperature in the tires as possible. Rolling start, and we're off with Sander van Ness in the white and green HTC Porsche. And Xavier Maassen coming on the outside in the blue and white Porsche, but it's Hunter Abbott who holds on to the lead, followed by Sander van Ness. Is he still in second, or is Maassen still next to him? No, Van Ness is in second. And then it's Maassen from Melroy Heemskerk. Sander van Ness, Hunter Abbott are driving away from the others. Nice fight here between Maassen and Heemskerk. Can Heemskerk find a gap? Yes, he can. Maassen leaves a gap there and Heemskerk goes through. Does he have the speed to catch up with the others who are some 5 seconds in front already? Leader of the club class for the 996 Porsche, Jerome and Richard leading that class. And here the fight again between Langeberg and Van Oost. We've seen this battle before in the sprint race. There a small mistake by Tom Langeberg, and Olivier Van Oost goes past into the lead of the M class. Olivier Van Oost and Nicolas van Dierenhonk now on separate cars in this race, and that's a good thing because that makes an extra race car. That's always interesting. Van Oost now leading the M class from Langeberg. And Nicolas van Dierenhonk is in third in that class. Meanwhile in front, start of the pit stops, Sander van Ness comes in, gives the steering wheel to Christian Frankenhout. Last help from Paul van Splunteren, and off he goes. Melroy Heemskerk passes the wheel to Mark Roker.
Melroy, mooi gevecht tijdens je stint.
Melroy, nice fight during your stint. Yes, it was a good fight with Xavier. I tried to get some constant lap times, but then I was a bit quicker than Xavier, so I was a bit stuck. And then I passed him, but then I made a mistake, so yeah, I was back to square one. So I lost some time there. Nicolas van Dierenhonk and Olivier Van Oost, both in separate cars, both driving this endurance race alone. That means they have to stay a fixed time in the pit lane. And Nicolas van Dierenhonk was just a bit too quick out of the pit lane, and he got a penalty from 30 seconds. Xavier Maassen in third position gives the wheel of the Speed Lover Porsche to Carlos Rivas. Maassen looking at the tires, and he doesn't seem to be very happy, the Dutchman.
Xavier, net na je stint, je lijkt niet zo te...
Xavier, you don't seem to be very happy. Well, the rules say we can use 10 tires, and we used 8. So I start with old tires, and all the others around me start with new tires. So I can do whatever I want. I can't match their speed in that way. So instead of being third, I had to fight with the cars in the lead. And here the Longin Belian Porsche. Team boss Jo Jamers looking on, seeing how his car is now in fourth place, in fifth rather. And here Christian Frankenhout in second. Oh, that's a difficult one. And that's a spin that looks like a spin caused by a puncture. And indeed, the Porsche Groupside Porsche suffers a puncture on the left rear. And that's a good result lost for Frankenhout and Sander van Ness. We're a couple of laps from the end, so they won't be able to make up the lost time. A final check whether the car is not damaged. Frankenhout took his time to get back into the pit lane, so normally they should be able to continue. And indeed, but with 2 laps lost, it's impossible to get a good result. And that means that Jeffrey van Hooydonk can cruise to the win in this endurance race. And Hunter Abbott looks on. And he's very happy with that win. And another puncture here for the 67 of Will Wett, losing second place in the M class. Carlos Rivas, meanwhile, holds on to third together with Xavier Maassen. And Heemskerk and Roker take second place, but 30 seconds behind this Porsche of Jeffrey van Hooijdonk and Hunter Rabbit, who do a great result here, and that's a good thing for the championship.
In het kampioenschap is het inderdaad een...
Yes, this is very good for the championship, but I'm not really thinking about the championship now. I take this race by race, and then if at the end of the season we're still in front, then we'll look for the championship. And Olivier van Oost wins the M class.
Goeie start.
I had a good start, and then I had to start last because we had to change the drive shaft, but after then I was chasing with the group. Then I had a good fight with our colleague, and then I passed him, and it was a rather controlled race. Another look at the results, with Van Hooijdonk and Abbott taking the win. And that means that Van Hooijdonk and Abbott are now leading the championship, with Melroy Heemskerk in third. That was it from the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Benelux. See you next time.